Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hogue, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hogue, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. Get my free bonus movie course. When? Only when you join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. You need to join now. Join today. Get started on the new year. effortlessenglishclub.com. You will speak English fluently. You will speak powerfully. You will speak English effortlessly. When you commit to my VIP program, commit, don't quit, go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Today we're going to talk about the hero's journey. The hero's journey. I was going to do I'm sorry about yesterday. I missed the movie club yesterday. I've decided just to wait until next Sunday. Let's keep it on Sundays instead of changing days. It becomes confusing. So today I'll talk about a topic. But it's a topic connected to The Hobbit. In our first chapter of The Hobbit, I mentioned Joseph Campbell, and I mentioned a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. The Hero with a Thousand Faces, where Joseph Campbell looks at mythology. In other words, the famous stories of different cultures in different places through history, especially the very old ones. And he found some patterns. Right? He found some quite powerful similarities between these stories. And, he believed that these stories are giving us a guide to our lives. That there's great wisdom in these stories, and that we can learn a lot from these stories and use them in our own life. And so what I decided to do is I'm going to, as we go through The Hobbit, I've decided to connect The Hobbit with Joseph Campbell. Because, we can just talk about the story of The Hobbit. That's fine. It's a nice story. But, I'd like to have a deeper discussion. And I've been thinking, how can we have a deeper discussion? And I think this is the way to do it. So I'm going to connect it to Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. We're going to kind of learn both at the same time. As we read The Hobbit, I will also be rereading The Hero with a Thousand Faces and introducing you to these ideas. So I'll be connecting you to the ideas of Joseph Campbell and about the hero's journey and mythology, and connecting that to the story of The Hobbit, so we can get a little bit deeper idea, some deeper messages and deeper meaning from The Hobbit. And I believe, that Tolkien also had the intention of deeper messages. As I've mentioned many times, Tolkien was a very, very, very devout Christian. So for sure, he has a lot of spiritual messages in his books, especially Lord of the Rings, but even in The Hobbit. Good morning to everyone who's joining live, and I'll come back to comments and questions in a minute. First, I just want to show you, this is from a book of Joseph Campbell's where he's talking about the hero's journey. I'm going to read one little section. This kind of fits what we were talking about Saturday with The Hobbit. Okay, he says, the basic story of the hero journey involves giving up where you are, right? Leaving where you are, going into the realm of adventure, coming to some kind of realization, right? So having some kind of realization, learning, some kind of change, some kind of wisdom, learning something deep or important, and then returning to normal life. Okay, and this is exactly the pattern we will see in The Hobbit. Bilbo is in his normal, comfortable life. Step one. Next, he leaves his normal, comfortable life. He goes on a trip, on a journey. That's the next chapter. We'll see that. He goes into the realm of adventure. What does that mean? When he goes into adventure, it means there's some difficulty, some challenge, some danger, right? And which can be both, and typically is both exciting and scary. That we will often see this mixture with the hero of being afraid and also excited. A mixture of fear and excitement. Going into this world of adventure, danger, difficulty, challenge, fear, and excitement. Then what happens? Well, because of these challenges, facing these difficulties and these challenges, and overcoming them or surviving them, then the hero comes to a realization. Right? Meaning the hero has learns something very deeply and has some kind of deep change, right? Deep change inside, a transformation inside of some kind, emotional, spiritual, something. The hero does not remain the same. They learn and they grow and become better because of these adventures. We will see that with Bilbo. At the end of the story, Bilbo's quite different than in the beginning, right? In the beginning, he's kind of a silly, lazy, kind of soft, funny little guy. But by the end, he is a much braver, he's quite heroic, in fact, by the end. And then finally, an important part of this, at the end, the hero returns to normal life. So the hero does not stay and just be doing adventure forever, does not leave home forever. The hero comes home to normal life, but when the hero comes home, they're different, and they use their new power, they use their new strength, they use their new wisdom to help in their normal life, to help their friends, to help their family, to help their community. So they go away, they learn, they grow stronger, then they come back, and now they're different. And now they can serve and help and contribute in a much better way when they return home finally. And often you'll see in these stories, they return home and they help the people in their home. Right? They make maybe things in their home are not so good, in their hometown, in their home kingdom, and then they come home and they make everything right again. Another example of that, a really good example of that part of coming home and correcting problems is the Odyssey. Right? If you look at the Iliad and the Odyssey as one big story, so Odysseus, the hero of the Odyssey, he leaves home. He's a king. He leaves home to go fight the war against the Trojans, and he's gone for years. The war is years long, and it's ups and downs and lots of danger and adventure. And then in the Odyssey, it's about his trip home and he's trying to get home. And again, he has lots of problems, lots of difficulties, lots of adventures. He finally comes home. Of course, he's a huge hero at that point. He has survived so many problems and challenges. He was already kind of a hero at the beginning, but he's definitely by the end. And then what does he do? He has to save his kingdom. His house, his kingdom has been taken over, has been basically invaded by these people who are staying in his house, eating all his food, being rude to his wife and his son. Basically these are invaders. These are people who are not, who are not following the rules of being guests, and he has to take care of them, meaning he kills them all. And then finally at the end, now his kingdom is saved again. So it's that same pattern. So the question then is, and what we'll talk about as we go forward in The Hobbit, what we will talk about as I discuss these ideas from Joseph Campbell, is that these are not just nice stories. There are messages there for us, right? Because all of us in life, we also have a journey, a life journey, many perhaps, right? Because we also in life will face difficulties. Even if we don't want to, we will. But it's better if we choose them. It's better if we go out and put ourselves into difficult situations and challenges. And that this journey can also be psychological, right? It's a map. It's a path. That's why he calls it, kind of a guide for each and every one of us for life. Because, we start our life as young people. We're in the home, which is great. Hopefully we have a good home. But then what? When we become adults, we have to go out into the adult world. We have to find our own meaning. We have to find our purpose in life. How do we do that? Right? A lot of young people ask me, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my mission? And see, here's the problem. They're just sitting around thinking. This is the problem. They don't know what to do. They believe that they can choose their purpose. They can choose their destiny. They can choose their mission just by thinking, right? I'll sit around and then I'll think, my destiny is to be a travel writer. My purpose is to have a big family. My purpose, right? They're trying to just make decisions just sitting around at home thinking. That's not how it works. Joseph Campbell shows us this. The story of the Hobbit shows us this. You don't find your purpose by sitting at home thinking about it. How do you find your purpose? You go out into adventure. You go out into danger. You go out into difficulty. You go out into the world and you become uncomfortable and you try lots of different things. You have problems. You have challenges. You fail. You get up again. You try many different things. Bad things happen to you. Good things happen to you. You meet lots of different people. And through that whole process, the process of overcoming the challenges or surviving the challenges, of having bad luck, of having good luck, through the process of that usually over several years, that's how you learn and grow and you figure out. You have a realization, right? You have an understanding. This is my purpose. You find your purpose out in the journey. You find your purpose by having adventures and facing difficulty. Yeah, that's how you figure it out, not by sitting around thinking. Just thinking, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? You'll never figure it out doing that. This is why so many young people are lost and frustrated. And I don't know what my purpose is. Of course you don't know. You have no life experience. You got to get out and have adventures. In fact, for young people, I think don't think about what's my purpose, what's my purpose. You can't answer the question, okay? You can't answer it. Even if you're older and you don't know, you can't answer the question just sitting around. A better question is, what adventure do I want to have, right? Something that scares you and excites you at the same time, right? Something that calls to you, meaning it's like you feel like this, almost like this power pulling you to do it. Is it starting your own business? Maybe. Is it traveling around the world? Maybe. Is it having a big family with lots of children? Maybe. Is it becoming a monk? Maybe. I don't know. What is it for you? Of course, different times in your life will be different things. You'll have more than one. But this is the point. You find your purpose or your destiny or your mission by going out into the world, facing adventures, facing difficulty, leaving comfort, leaving your normal life behind. It's the action of doing that, of that journey, that's when you find it. And then when you find it, you go back to your normal life again. You go back home, you go back to your normal life. But now you have a purpose. Now you're a different person. You are a stronger person because you had ups and downs, failures and good luck and successes. You're stronger, you're wiser. Now you go back to normal life, but you're not normal anymore. You're different. And you have this feeling of purpose in your life. You know what you want to do, and you're strong enough to do it. That's how you do it. That's the message of the hero's journey for us individually. That's what The Hobbit is showing us. It's in a fantasy world, but under that, you see the same journey, these same messages. And you'll see this in the movie Star Wars, which I love quite a lot. You see it in the Iliad and the Odyssey, especially with Odysseus in the Odyssey. You'll see this again and again and again and again and again, this same pattern. So there are messages there for us about life, about finding your purpose, about becoming a better person, a stronger person, a wiser person, about how to live your life. So it's very good, and that's what we will focus on as we read The Hobbit and also discuss these ideas. So that's just a very general idea. Now, Joseph Campbell then will talk about each of these steps. There are things we can expect. There are more details, right? Like when you first leave, what can you expect? Will it be easy in the beginning? No. Are you going to succeed always? We're going to see. Bilbo does not always succeed. We will see that it happens gradually. We will see that Bilbo is not a hero. The first time, in the next chapter, chapter 2, Bilbo faces danger the first time, their first adventure. Does he succeed? Does he act in a heroic way? We'll see he does not. In fact, he fails and all the dwarves fail the first time. We'll see that. So another useful message is that when you should expect to fail. When you go out and you try the first time, you leave your comfort zone, you try a big adventure. Yeah, probably the first time you're going to fail, you're going to have pain, there's going to be failure. Don't be but we can know if we expect this, if we know this is normal, then we don't get so upset about it. Like, I failed in my first business. You're going to have failures. When I first traveled, when I left America, my first trip to India, maybe someday I'll tell more stories about that. But many, 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 many difficult, painful experiences in that trip, right? It wasn't all great. But that was part of my learning. If it was just great, if everything was easy, I would not have learned much. That journey and other ones was much more powerful because it was difficult. All right, then, let's get into our comments and questions. Cool. Edixon is doing shadowing with my voice. Great. Yeah, Preeti says, come out of your comfort zone and face the difficulties. Yes. And the point of what we're talking about, though, is that it's predictable, right? So this is it's good news for people. People are so afraid of the unknown. Right? What if I leave my normal life? They're afraid of what will happen, the unknown. But actually, what Joseph Campbell's showing us, what The Hobbit shows us, what all of these stories show us, is actually, we don't know exactly what will happen, but in fact, there is a kind of predictable pattern when you do this. When you leave your comfort zone, when you leave what's your normal life, you challenge yourself, you face difficulties, that in fact, if you keep going, if you don't quit, there is a kind of expected path that usually happens. And so when you fail the first time or the first couple times, again, don't be upset. That's all part of it. Every story, we see the same thing. The hero always fails in the beginning. He always has bad luck. In the Odyssey, Odysseus has tons of bad luck. Okay? Bad luck. He has one bad luck. He survives. He escapes. And what happens? More bad luck. Something else bad happens. Right? So we can just expect it instead of crying and worrying. We know it's not going to be successful all the time. In fact, we will expect it, but we can see the whole journey. And when you see the whole journey, when you kind of know that, well, eventually I will succeed. Eventually I will become stronger. Eventually I will then return home a different person, a more heroic person. We can have more faith. It's a message of faith, really. These stories are a message of faith. telling us, have faith. It will be difficult. It will be scary sometimes. You will have failures along the way, but the whole time you will be growing and learning, and in the end, you will be a hero. You will. So have faith and keep going. Yeah, like Pablo says, there's a profound psychological metaphor in the hero's journey, a call into action. That's why it grabs our attention and interest. It resonates with us. Great use of vocabulary and very good comments. That's exactly right. We can examine these heroes' journeys, these stories. We can look at them psychologically and we can look at them spiritually. And with some similar meanings, some similar ideas in there. And that's right. That you feel a call to go out, to do more, to be more. And it's kind of, you could look at it psychologically, that it's a call to become a better person, right? To become if you're young, then to become an adult. And becoming an adult means going out and doing this. You've got to go through this. And then you come back home and you're a different person, right? We'll see it with Bilbo. It's very good. Very, 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 very good. Yeah, Sriracha says, if I only have a good feeling, everything will be good. I try to do it all the time. Yep, but sometimes, there are difficulties. Sometimes there are problems. It's all part of the journey, right? That's our message. I mean, if you really think about it, as outsiders, if we look at The Hobbit, so of course it's fiction and fantasy, but still, if we read The Hobbit, and what if The Hobbit was only about Bilbo, and Bilbo just sat at home and he ate food and everything was easy, and he never had any problems? That would be a super boring book. It would fail. Nobody would want to read that. That would be some kind of horrible, modern, postmodern fiction or something that would be horrible. No one would want to read it, right? The Hobbit's just as a story, as outsiders kind of reading the story, it's fun and exciting because of the danger. Right? We can realize, in fact, it's very easy when it's someone else. I think we all know this, right? If it's someone else, if it's a friend, if it's a family member, even a stranger we don't know, it's much easier to understand this. We can see, this is a great opportunity for them to grow, and look, they're having these new experiences, and they're learning so much, right? So when it's not us, it's very easy to see that this is positive overall, that it can be positive. Just like if you see a friend and they have let's say they have a girlfriend, it's a guy. He has a girlfriend, and the girlfriend leaves, breaks up with him. And you see, because you're outside, you see, this is so good. That girl was not good for him. She was not good. And this is great. This is so good that the breakup is great. Now he can go live his life, and he can do better things, and eventually maybe find someone better. I'm so happy. But of course, your friend, he's not happy. It's much, much harder for your friend to see the good in the situation, because in the moment, it's just pain for your friend. Oh, I miss her. Oh, she broke up with me. Oh, she rejected me. Wah, wah, wah. And your friend can't see the positive in the moment, right? Not usually. And if you try to tell your friend, he might get angry at you. So it's often harder. But it's good to remember. That's why it's good to think about this, and to try to make a habit in your mind that when you're having an adventure, right? An adventure, a difficulty, a challenge, to try to look at the bigger picture, right? Try to look at it in a bigger way and see that actually, long term, this probably has some very good benefits. Long term, this has a lot of opportunities for learning. Long term, this has a lot of opportunities for me to grow stronger. Long term, this has an opportunity for me to change my life in some way. You'll still feel pain. You'll still, we'll see. Bilbo is scared in the Hobbit, right? And when he's in danger in the book, he's not laughing. He's scared. He's really scared. We'll see it in the next chapter. He's afraid. He's afraid a lot during the events. But of course, we can see from the outside, and even Bilbo can realize later in the story that, I'm better. I'm a much better and different person now because of these difficult situations. So he can appreciate it, certainly after the moment. And we can also do this. Yeah, like Cesar says, not all heroes have a cape. It's like the thing in the back, like a superhero. All heroes have the willingness and confidence to try their best. Indeed, and we will see. And that's why I love Bilbo, actually. Bilbo's a great character. And Lord of the Rings, Frodo too, the Hobbits. What I love about Tolkien's books is that his main heroes are just regular, literally little people, right? And the Hobbits are little. They're half-sized. They're only 1 meter tall. So they're not big and strong. They're not kings like Odysseus, right? In some stories, the hero is a big king and is already quite strong. And of course, in Lord of the Rings, there are, characters, or Hobbit. Gandalf is quite strong. We'll see Thorin, the dwarf, in The Hobbit is very strong. Aragorn in Lord of the Rings is very strong. So yes, you have some strong characters, but they're not actually the main heroes. The main heroes are the hobbits, who are regular little people. Just regular people like you and I, right? They're not big, they're not strong, they're not super wise, they're not wizards, they don't have magic, they're not great fighters, none of that. And yet, they have what Cesar says. They have the willingness and confidence to try their best. They just continue to do their best. They won't quit. They're just doing their part, right? They're doing their duty the best they can. And what we see again and again in these stories from Tolkien is that with all of the hobbits, they all seem quite small, but that just by doing their best and not quitting, that somehow they find more strength, more courage than they expect, than anyone expects. They become much more than anyone realizes they can be, right? That they have there's something inside them that is greater than most people see. Even the hobbits don't realize it in the beginning, right? None of the hobbits. Bilbo has no idea, right? Bilbo is a scared little guy. He has no idea that there's something stronger inside him. Frodo in the Lord of the Rings, same thing. He has no idea. None of those hobbits do. And yet, because they face the danger again and again and again, they don't quit, they keep going, it changes them, and something very wonderful and powerful kind of grows inside them. And by the end, they all are indeed heroes. And I think that's a great message for all of us who are just normal people, And you can see this in Tolkien's life as well. He was a normal guy. Obviously gifted writer, but he was in World War I, in one of the most terrible battles of World War I, and I think he saw this. I think that's why he wrote these heroes, because I think he saw all around him in the other soldiers, just regular guys from little towns and villages doing amazing things and surviving horrible conditions, and he realized that there is great courage, that there is a kind of heroism in all of us, potentially. And we have to find it or bring it out. But it comes out through difficulty. It comes out through challenge. It doesn't come out when life is easy and everything's great. Yeah, like Halima says, is this the trip like the trip of a human on the earth? Exactly. It is a metaphor for our journey in life in general, or at least what it can be, a good life. Yeah, like 21st century English, it's a nice way to say it. A smooth road never makes a good driver. Right, it's kind of the idea. It's kind of related. I don't ride a motorcycle anymore, but I used to. And I learned to ride a motorcycle in Bangkok, Thailand. So I was living in Bangkok. One of my good friends is really into motorcycles, and he had a motorcycle. And I was living there in the city, and there's the public transportation in Bangkok is terrible. It's getting better, but it's still not good. So anyway, I was having to travel downtown. I was kind of having to, every day I was traveling, going to classes and meetings. And you can't drive, if you drive it's crazy to drive a car in Bangkok because the traffic is horrible. But if you get a motorcycle, you go between the cars, it's fairly fast. So I decided to try, to learn how to ride a motorcycle. And my friend taught me, and I practiced for a while. And then I started riding a motorcycle in Bangkok. And the traffic is crazy, and there's people coming every direction, and it's actually very dangerous, And but the good thing is it taught me how to be very, very careful as a motorcycle rider, to constantly be looking everywhere all the time, aware, because in Bangkok you have to do that. And so it did. It made me a better driver because it was the traffic was so dangerous, so crazy. I became a better or a safer rider because of that. It was kind of the same idea, right? Very similar idea. Ilana Khan says, it's a great message for ordinary people. Anyone can become a hero. Indeed. And I think, and it's a great message that especially Tolkien gives us in Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, is that we have more inside us than we think. We're stronger, we're more heroic, we're greater than we realize. But we have to bring it out, we have to leave our comfort zone, we have to push ourselves, we have to go out, into adventure, we have to try difficult things and new things and different things, we have to face our fears, do what excites us, what calls to us. If we're just safe, then we will never know. That's what most of the hobbits do. All the other hobbits, in the Hobbit, in both books, there are a total of, 5 hobbits that become heroes. All the other hobbits, they never do anything. They just stay at home and eat food and get fat, and they never become heroes. They never find anything else inside themselves. They're not bad people, but they're just kind of lazy and weak. But the 5 hobbits that leave home, and they also seem kind of lazy and weak in the beginning, but they all become something much more, but only because they go out into the big dangerous world, and they fail and face dangers and have all kinds of adventures. And this is the message to all of us, that I think Tolkien's saying that, yes, on one hand, ordinary people have much more inside them. You have more inside you than you think. I do. We all do. But we can only find that by going out and pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves and facing the failures and dealing with the dangers and the unknown and the fear and the excitement and all of that, and to keep going and don't quit. And that's how we will find it and discover it. Yeah, like Halima says, is this the trip to discover the spiritual side? Yes, of course, and that's the way you could think of it spiritually as well. It's the same, right? I mean, you could think, let's just take an example of Gautama Buddha, right? Did the Buddha, he was a king, he was a prince, Prince Siddhartha. Did Prince Siddhartha just stay in his palace, right, where everything was perfect, where he was super wealthy, right? He could have just stayed at home. Why? That's what most people would do. He had power, he had money, he had a wonderful family, a father, and everything. He had everything. But what did he do? Again, on the spiritual side, he left all of it. Everything. He just left. He didn't tell anybody. Just boom, he left. He got rid of all even his clothes, and he just put on some robes, right, that he found. And then what did he do? He just walked around, he meditated, he fasted, right? Almost to death he fasted. No money, nothing for years and years. But through this process, of course, he changed. He eventually reached enlightenment and became the Buddha. But again, right, it's the same idea. He didn't do that by just staying at home and living his normal, easy life. And then he did eventually go back. And actually many of his family, joined him and to learn from him. But you see, again, it's the same story, right? It's the same process. The same process. He had to leave home. He could, if he was still the Prince Siddhartha, he could not become enlightened. If he just stayed home comfortably, rich at home, everything easy, he would never have become the Buddha. It's not, we'll see this again and again and again. You can see any story. Jesus, forced 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, right? That wasn't easy. Okay. Did he have to do it? He did have to do it in a way because it was part of his, journey as well. He could have just stayed a carpenter and made tables all his life. It would have been very comfortable. He wouldn't have been crucified. He wouldn't have been suffered all that if he just had stayed in his home and been a carpenter and made furniture, right? So you'll see this again and again, this basic theme, because it's important. Because it's kind of a deeper truth, a dharmic truth, we could say. Yeah, okay. And here's something very modern. I like it. Faith Idiom Channel says, coming from Bon Jovi, John Bon Jovi, the rock and roll guy, we live for the fight when it's all that we've got. Right. The process of the fight, the struggle, the difficulty, it's part of life. We need it. We need it. And we live now in a time where probably the laziest, softest, weakest time in human history, certainly in recorded human history that we know. We have more luxury. Everything's much, much easier than any other time in history. Even, ancient Rome, we live better than kings and emperors. And on one hand, it's nice, right? That's nice. We don't have to worry about starving to death and all of those things, or freezing. But there's a spiritual challenge that comes with that, a danger. And that is that we can become too soft. We can just stay in the comfort too long, right? Like Prince Siddhartha. We just stay at home instead of leaving. We just stay inside all that comfort. It's so comfortable, so easy. Why should I go out and do difficult things? Why should I go fail? Why should I do, suffer or have pain or discomfort? Because it's the only way you become a stronger, better, happier person. If you just want to be comfortable all the time, it actually makes you less happy eventually. So anyway, nice messages there. Leonardo's talking about Thorin's story. We'll talk more about Thorin. I'm not going to talk about it now. So Thorin is one of the main characters. He's the leader of the dwarves, and there's some different messages there with Thorin. Thorin, we'll see, has a little bit of a bad ending. So there are actually some warnings there with Thorin, and good things too. But we'll discuss Thorin, and we'll discuss Gandalf. Really in The Hobbit, those are the three main ones. Bilbo is obviously the main hero of the story. He's the one that follows this path, this hero journey. Gandalf is the wise old man, the mentor, whatever, the spiritual guide. And then Thorin is kind of the, you might say, the material, the everyday life leader, right? The worldly leader. And we'll see messages from him too. Yeah, like Danielle with a very good mindset. Failing gets you one step closer to where you want to be. It challenges you. So you've got it makes you stronger, makes you smarter if you use it and you don't quit and you keep going. There are lots of benefits to it. This is true. Spiritual Universe is the name of the profile. Says, right now I'm 25, so fairly young. I still live a comfortable life. I want to leave my comfort zone, travel all around India, my country, and learn a lot of experience. Do it! India is a great place for that. That's what I did. I did it at age 27. I looked just a couple years after you in terms of age. And India is, if I had to pick a country where you want to have that kind of journey, India would be number one, because you will be challenged in India. You will also just experience amazing things. There's such variety in different parts of India. Man, just do it. Do it. And if you don't have much money, do it on a tight budget. That's what I did. I did not have much money. I've traveled in India 3 times, and each time I had a very tight budget, but especially the first trip. Super tight. I stayed in some pretty terrible places. Dirty with rats and stuff, okay? So, but it doesn't matter. It's part of the journey. Do it. If you have to camp sometimes, you have to sleep on the ground in front of a temple, do it, man. Do it. Go on your trip. Go on your journey. I highly encourage you. And as an Indian, it's your country, so even more meaningful and powerful for you, I think. And go to the different areas, right? Go to some of the big cities. That's where the most difficult travel usually is. It'd probably be a little easier for you as a foreigner. People saw that I was a foreigner, so I attracted a lot of attention. I attracted a lot of negative attention from bad people. Hopefully, as a Indian, you might escape that some. But anyway, go to cities, go up into the Himalayas, just get way up to like Manali and Leh, and of course the Ganges. You've got to go to Varanasi, go to Calcutta, go to the south, travel around India, ride the trains. Oh man, amazing. You're making me want to go back. Yeah, like Rafiqul Islam has that quote from the Buddha here: the harder you work for something, the greater you feel when you achieve it. For sure. Something if someone just gives you something, yeah, maybe you appreciate, oh, thanks, this is nice. But if you work very hard for that same thing, you do appreciate it more. For sure you do. Iman says, I think if you believe in yourself and trust your God, you'll have great courage. You'll feel that you're a hero as you can face anything. The Creator's within you. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Faith, it would be the word I would use. That in the hero's journey, we need faith. So, that this is what keeps us going, because sometimes during our hero's journey, we do face great difficulty. Maybe you're failing again, and you feel like you'll never survive, you'll never succeed, you'll never get through it, and that's where you need faith. You even see the same message in the Odyssey, by the way, that Odysseus, many different times he's losing hope. Okay, poor Odysseus's story is horrible, man. The poor guy has the worst luck ever. It's not just bad luck. In fact, it's because some of the gods, Poseidon, I believe it is specifically, don't like him, so they're kind of cursing him. Right? They're making bad things happen to him. And how does he survive it? Well, because luckily he has the blessing of, and he has faith in, Athena is his main goddess. And he prays to Athena, and Athena helps him. She helps him get through. She can't do everything for him, but she does kind of protect him and help him get through those really hard times. Okay, so it's a message there that right, if you have a faith, that faith will give you great strength to get through those really hard times. When sometimes it seems, logically it seems like there's no chance, no hope, and you need faith at that time to keep going. Helene was asking, what do the rings mean in the story? Well, probably there's different ideas about that. I mean, in general, power, I would say. The power over others is, I believe, what the general meaning of the rings. But we're not really going to... The Hobbit does not really... The ring is introduced in The Hobbit, but it's not a major part of it. In The Hobbit, you have no idea. Like when I first read The Hobbit, he gets the ring. You have no idea that it's important, that it's super powerful. Because Bilbo's not powerful. In the story, kind of the ring multiplies power. So if someone's very powerful and they use the ring, they become super, super, super powerful. That's kind of the idea of it. But in The Hobbit, it just makes him invisible. That's all. Shrakan says, sometimes I think I've missed everything, my dreams even. But I keep encouraging myself every day. I look into the mirror, I tell myself, you're the hero. You can learn English, not immediately, but definitely. You're learning English. You're communicating well with me right now in this chat. So yes, just keep going. You're doing great. Okay. The difficulty is part of the process, and at the highest levels, we can learn to even enjoy that difficulty. Hey Sarah, good to see you. Like Gilgamesh. Yes. Halima, another hero. Gilgamesh. Right. Joseph Campbell writes quite a lot about Gilgamesh as another example of the hero's journey. Absolutely. Yes. A very, very old example. Very old. Ancient. That's right. It's I'd have to refresh my own memory of the story of Gilgamesh exactly, but I do remember that Joseph Campbell uses Gilgamesh as a ancient and powerful example of this hero's journey. Okay. I think we're about done here. Someone says this. 2 years ago, my brother gave me the advice to listen to your mini story, Baseball Pig. Your voice was so clear. After this, I started English. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, guys. So that's it for today. The hero's journey. We will be discussing this in more detail. I'll be rereading some of Joseph Campbell's books about this topic and then connecting it to The Hobbit so that we can kind of examine The Hobbit. Number one, of course, it's just a delightful story. It's just a very nice story. It's an entertaining story. It's I would say it's beautifully written. I love Tolkien's writing, and it's fun and it's just great story at the surface level. But I think that by bringing in some of these ideas, mostly from Joseph Campbell, that we can also kind of connect The Hobbit and the events of The Hobbit to deeper messages that that can improve our lives, that we can use in our own lives. And that's what we'll be doing as we go forward. All right, then, lots of love to you. As always, join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. See you next time.